I'm going to quickly invite Streets of Growth to the front. So Darren Way is the founder of the charity that's kindly given us this space. We had a bit of an emergency situation. We had to change venue last week, and they've pulled out all the stops and made this happen. So I would like Darren to pop in, if you can see him, and he'll quickly tell you about our history together and this space. And you'll find this quite interesting, not just from my perspective, but also what this charity does is absolutely amazing. So Darren, if you could come to the front, tell us your story, and be careful of the health and safety hazards that you've set up for me, just to test my agility.
I've only got 4 or 5 minutes, so I'll try.
Oh, Darren, if you could
do it
here, that'd be great. Thank you. Request from the video man.
I'm really condensing 30 years into 4 minutes. I'm a failed school leaver and I'm not proud of it. I grew up on a council estate that's in this borough that you're in now called Tower Hamlets. And in 1979, when we were kids growing up, I never knew that we were in the 4th most socially deprived borough in the UK, because everyone was in the same boat. We lived in poverty. Growing up, you either got involved in employment and you moved on. Most people in my community who moved on moved out, so we lost all our community role models because they didn't want to be in the shit. And then those that stayed often got involved in drugs, criminality, and now you're seeing all what you're seeing on the telly now that ain't new to my world, with child criminal exploitation, modern slavery, and the knife-ins and stuff. Trying to do something in my own neighbourhood as a neighbour. I was a painter and decorator going to drama school. Started to get involved with young people on the flats in the streets, going up at night, being told to fuck off. And then my community not really supporting me to try and get these kids out of gangs. Even my mates that were involved in drug dealing and gangs then started to think that I was a grass, so people wanted me to move out of my own neighbourhood. But what kept me there was my values. I wanted these kids to have what we didn't have, and it's still going on more today. Now, I'll give you that little backstory. We were working with white, black, Asian, whoever, right? I was like a one-man street gang. 2001, 10 quid, 2 chairs. Set up Streets of Growth. That's all we had. And the first week we got £4 funding to get computers, to get kids computers, to get into careers. Local gangbangers rammed our shop and stole the lot to run me out of town. I went and faced these gangs and said, listen, you ain't running me out of town, right? I'm gonna build a gang that's far bigger than you'll ever be. 23 years on, you're now in Streets of Growth's epicentre. This is my space. All from that moment. However, it wasn't that simple, because we had a little shop front on a 1-year rolling lease, couldn't get 2-year funding because I only had a 1-year lease. Had that for 10 years. Went to a print factory before they turned it into luxury apartments, then was just booted out. And that was going to be the end of Streets of Growth 2015. And I had to almost say, the gang can go no further. I was employing white people, black people, Asian, all different ethnicities, all with the values of belonging, generosity, independence, competence, and interdependence. You know, what religion you were, whatever, we said that everyone who comes from this world has the right to belong. And that's what we were about. But we were about to close. 2015, shut down. And then someone said to me, do you know a guy called Shaylish? No, I don't. Try and have a word with him. Shaylish came, spoke to me, had a meanwhile space in Marshall on the Isle of Dogs. He said, I can give it to you, but it's only on a meanwhile, but it might get you to the next step. We were in that space for 4 years. 4 years we were in that space. And in that time, we started winning loads of awards. All those years before the 15 years that we'd done, now we were becoming an overnight success. People were coming over to Canary Wharf and seeing this redundant office that we'd transformed into a youth intervention centre for 15 to 21-year-olds. We were dealing with kids that were being child criminally exploited, sexually exploited. Some of our young people have been shipped to different countries, and we've got them back into the UK. We don't have county lines, it's bigger than that. We have bus lines. We've got kids who are being bused from Aldgate to Mile End. So if we're worried about child criminal exploitation in county lines, we've got borough lines. It's getting that bad. Most of our kids who carry knives would never use them. They think that if they're carrying a knife, they won't get stabbed. The biggest issue amongst poverty for my young people is fear. They're scared. They don't know if they've got a future here. They're watching how people are being treated around the world. They're not sure that they have a space. And it's our job as adults to make our young people believe they have a future worth working for. So that's what my charity do. We specialise in this work. And how we came about this space that you're in now, as I conclude, is that when Unite students who do student accommodation were doing the diggings, they came across an old Elizabethan era theatre in the ground, and then the council brought in Mola Museum of London, and they said, if you're going to build this building, you're going to have to put a building space at the bottom that represents that. So this is a theatre, and they put it out to tender for organisations. And what was weird, and I conclude on this story and just finish with a bit on Shalish, is that over the years, as a founder of Streets of Growth, I became very bitter that in doing all this with our community, that I had to move from this space to that space to that space. I became really bitter. The irony of it is, when we were interviewed for this space, it was because we showed how we could work with all those diverse spaces that they said that we would be the perfect organisation to work in this space. So all that anger and resentment was actually the apprenticeship to be, and being able to work with Shalish in the Meanwhile space. They were so intrigued with what we did with the Meanwhile space over in Marsh Wall, they said they'd never heard of it. They were just astonished. And the fact of how multicultural we were, multi-faith, people with no faith. Today, every young person goes for a 2-year model here. We're not a quick fix. We're doing some real down and dirty work out there. We've worked with 5,600 young people, each in a 2-year model. Each in a 2-year model. Shalish, I'll be honest with you, I have to be really straight here. Shalish will tell you I'm a straight talking guy. I'm an East London and I don't bullshit. I won't go like, oh, isn't this person great because they'll give me £5,000, right? You have to earn my respect because I have to earn the respect of the gangs I work with. What I'll tell you, if I never met him, I wouldn't be here now and you wouldn't be sat there. That's the power of what's happened. That's the gang he's building. If you want to know what community looks like, look what he's built here. This is it. There is no rocket science to this, but it's become rocket salad. This is it. This is how you build community. You don't even believe, oh, well, I'm not out there doing, no, the fact that you're actually supporting orgs like us and orgs like, you're doing gang work. You are the real deal. This is it. So thank you so much. And I have to say, I'll take my hat off to this man because I can count some people on my hand who I really respect. He's one of them. Thank you.
Thanks, Darren. I wish I'd put him at the end because I don't know how anyone's going to follow that, to be honest with you. But listen, our job at ASTOP is we're just a conduit. We're about making sure charities can get help from commercial-minded people as well. So it's about the balance. So part of my job is to just make sure and understand the numbers. So one of the things that I've learned from Darren over the last few years is to send someone to prison and all the court and all that sort of stuff for misbehaving, and however you define that, is about £129,000 per annum. And it costs £1 million to investigate a youth murder. Every single youth murder costs £1 million. He can transform people's lives through this organisation for £5,000 a year. So in some ways, if you look at the economics of, okay, how do we make a difference in someone's life? The prevention element is far better than dealing with the impact of what actually happens. So hats off to Darren and the crew because they do the hard work. I'd be too scared to walk down the street and talk to someone with a knife. I'd just be running the other way. But hats off to them. And thank you to you guys because those spaces, the Canary Wharf one, the other ones that we've helped with charities like that, that's what makes this possible. So I just wanted to give you that bit of background to Streets of Growth who have kindly given us this space. They're also in one of our buildings around the corner doing extra project work as well. So just wanted to give you some background to that.